started to look into resources that would rebuild my mind as well. So like positive self-talk and meditation, different things like that, were definitely tools that I was able to use in my journey back to the football field.
In this documentary, Eighth Year, it follows the inspiring journey of Kyle Pugh as he navigates his football career in college and all of the hardships he's faced. I think that the resilience that he showed, not only in his passion for the game, but also in his life, was very inspiring. I loved that he continued to stay positive and find ways to reassure himself during some of the more difficult moments in his career. I also loved seeing his fatherhood moments as well. I think they did a really great job highlighting those parts of his life that were outside of football. And overall, I think that his story is so important, especially for those who invest their whole lives into something, into a passion, and how to continue on when things don't seem to happen how you wanted them to.
I thought Eighth Year was a really inspiring documentary about Kyle Pugh and his aspirations for the NFL and getting there and his love for football. I loved learning about Kyle and his family. He has such a beautiful family, both the one he came from and the one that he's created. I loved seeing his interactions with his daughter, seeing that rugged football player, yelling at his teammates, hyping up his teammates, and then also seeing him as a loving girl dad. I loved seeing those two parts of him together. I also loved that we incorporated his faith into this, and we saw that and learned about his family and where he came from. He is such an awesome dad, such an inspiring, supportive father, and a role model for him. And I love that we see him embodying that for his daughter as well. I also appreciated we had some stylized shots of him meditating, of him, really thinking hard while we hear about his aspirations and his dreams and how he grounds himself. So we had those more stylized cinematic shots of him. So I appreciated that. I also just loved his outlook on life and how he never let anything bring him down. He grounded himself in his love of football, and he continued to follow that even after he didn't get drafted into the professional NFL. He continued to follow football, and he continued to follow his dreams. He's continuously optimistic, and he has his eyes towards the future and just his love of the game, which I thought was really cool and inspiring. And I just loved hearing his story and learning about his family and his upbringing. Kyle Pugh is really a very inspiring human being, and can't wait to see where he goes.
This film is called Eighth Year. This is an awesome doc short. What sets it apart for me is the pace. The film really takes its time, helping us to get to know the main figure, his ups, his downs, his family, his career. I just love the cinematography in this one. So many amazing close-ups of him in different settings and lighting. The chill soundtrack is right on point, and I really enjoyed hearing the action during the games from the coaches, players, and crowd. I wish the player all the best. You never know what's next for him. That's life, that's sport. Great job. Eighth Year. Check it out.
This is a sports story. This is a story about a gentleman who ended up being in college football more than the average person. People usually think that people are in school for 4 years of college, you get your bachelor's degree, you move on, but that's not necessarily the case all the time. I mean, I went to school more than 4 years just to get what I need to get done. So that's sort of the story that we are presented into here. We get to meet this gentleman who has been on the football team more than what we are used to, and we sort of get to see his journey of this transition, of this time of passage in his life. And we get to see the people that support and elevate and are around him. And I think one of the most powerful scenes is he's having this moment with his coach being like, I'm not going to be with you while you're out there. It's just going to be you, and you're going to have to be the one with the answers. sort of moment in conversation. I don't remember the exact dialogue, the exact words being said, but this is what moment that was pretty much being showcased. And I feel like that scene really resonated and followed through with me to today. And we get to have this overarching story of gentleman being part of the field and having this experience. If people inspire him to then take a shift and make a change, and now he has throughout time now is inspiring and holding hands and leading a group of a future generation of kids coming into sports, building that relationship and becoming a high school coach, I think is just a beautiful weaving journey from being the athlete and going through these things that is such a personal, intimate experience, to then take that experience and then use it as a staple to influence others to follow in a similar journey, I think is inspiring. And definitely that showcasing of be the person you needed when you were younger. I think that is such a notion that goes overlooked at times, but it is so important to give those forms of love to yourself.
Eighth year brings us along on a really interesting journey with the main character's family and the perspective, and I think it does a really great job of showing some of behind the scenes that goes into making a sports team work and the effort and goals and dreams of the individuals in a really interesting way.